Welcome back to Sports Fans Only. I'm your host, KJ, and this is a new series called What Could Have Been. Now, this series is about collegiate and amateur athletes who would have been or projected to be all-star / Hall of Fame players, and it just didn't pan out. They were either labeled bust or their careers just didn't live up to the hype, basically. So that's what this series is, and that's the series I'm going to host. It's going to be a running series, so I have a list of great athletes I know you guys are going to love. But tonight, we're going to start off with Mahmoud Abul-Rauf, formerly known as Chris Jackson. For those of you down in Louisiana, I know you guys remember him, probably one of the greatest freshman basketball players of all time. As a freshman, he averaged 30.5 points a game. I think it's only been done once since then, and this dude was just a beast. And it wasn't that long ago, it was the early 90s. So he played with Shaq for 1 year. That team was actually really good. I thought they should have got further into the tournament, but anyway, they lost to Duke. I think it was Duke, right? Yeah, they lost to Duke. So anyway, for those who don't know who this man is, prepare for a lesson, because I'm about to teach this thing. I'm about to shed some light on one of the greatest sharpshooters of all time. People don't give this man his respect because his career was only 9 years. He actually only had about a good 5 years where he actually balled out pretty good. His first year in the league, he was drafted 3rd overall. His first year in the league, he averaged 19 points a game. Really good player. There's this one game they played against the Bulls when the Bulls won their record amount of games, where the Denver Nuggets beat the Bulls, and he had 30-something points against Michael Jordan. So we'll get into all that a little bit later. So anyway, actually, Phil Jackson said he's the closest thing to Steph Curry. He's seen this before in Mahmoud Abul-Rauf. That's what Phil Jackson said. So can't argue with the man. So anyway, we're going to get into it. So anyway, I present Mahmoud Abul-Rauf, aka Chris Jackson, on What Could Have Been. I'm your host, KJ. This is Sports Fans Only. Let's get into it. Those in Abul-Rauf's hometown of Gulfport, Mississippi, tell a legendary tale about the man formerly known as Chris Jackson. In a Denver magazine, at Gulfport High School, the basketball coach offered his players an incentive. They could shave minutes off practice by hitting consecutive free throws. Every successful consecutive shot meant less running and fewer drills. One day, Chris was the shooter. He made 283 shots in a row. Practice was canceled that day. Jackson's rise in Mississippi was rooted in two things: sports and being diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, a neurological disorder that creates uncontrollable verbal and physical tics. While many would initially view it as a deterrent, Jackson used Tourette's as a way to refine his craft. Jackson wouldn't be diagnosed with his condition until he was 17 years old. Obviously, practicing to get things right, be it his speech or free throws, made him fluent in a variety of skills. That repetition would in some ways lead him eventually to convert to Islam in 1991 and change his name in 1993. There are a generation of basketball fans who do not realize there was another guard in Shaquille O'Neal's life who made the big fella complain about his lack of touches. Jackson's 2 years at LSU are arguably the two best seasons anyone's put up in college basketball history. A freshman campaign featuring a 30.2 scoring average, a NCAA record, and countless tales of 50-point nights led Jackson to be called the next Pistol Pete. If you need a reminder, you can watch the battles between Jackson and Larry Johnson, Tim Hardaway, or Allen Houston. After his second year, his only one playing with O'Neal, Jackson went pro. With Jackson's draft status now solidified, the Denver Nuggets, a middling organization at the time, traded their 2 first-round picks in the 1990 NBA draft to move up and select him 3rd overall. However, it wasn't until Jackson changed his name to Mahmoud Abul-Rauf, along with the Nuggets making a much-needed coaching change by hiring Dan Issel, that we saw the collegiate talent take form in the NBA. Abul-Rauf dropped 32 pounds and got the starting gig for the Nuggets in his 3rd season. He averaged 19.2 points per game and was selected to participate in the All-Star Slam Dunk competition and won the NBA's Most Improved Player award in 1992 and 93. Jackson, née Abul-Rauf, was finally on his way. He just needed a stage to show he was one of the best in the world. No one gave the number 8 seed Nuggets much of a chance against the mighty Seattle Supersonics in the 1994 playoffs. But hey, maybe if Abul-Rauf could produce offensively and teammates like LaFonso Ellis and Dikembe Mutombo, could slow down the high-powered Sonics, things can get interesting. Ellis and Mutombo held up their ends of the bargain, but Abul-Rauf could not find easy sledding. Gary Payton stifled the league's most improved player for all 5 games, holding him to 30.8% shooting from the field and preventing him from distributing the ball. Dan Issel called on Robert Pack to lead the way in clutch moments, benching Abul-Rauf when necessary. Pack was limited offensively, but was willing to defer, defend, and run the break, and that helped swing the momentum for Denver. The Nuggets eliminated the Sonics in 5 games, leading to many visuals embedded in our brains. There's Mutombo's emotional embrace of the ball on the court after the whistle sounded in Game 5. Pack's dunk on 3 Sonics players immediately comes to mind. Crazy thing about that series is there's nothing memorable about Abul-Rauf. It's almost like he wasn't even there. Soon he really disappeared from our consciousness. Now there's the time Abul-Rauf took a stand for what he believed in. Well, stand isn't quite the right word. The wispy-thin point guard decided at the beginning of the 1995-96 season that he would not stand and salute the United States flag during the national anthem before games. Few noticed this for a long time. Abul-Rauf would just stretch for the entirety of the song or stand there with his hands on his hips, never making eye contact with Betsy Ross's greatest work of art. It wasn't until March that this was finally outed by a local reporter. In Abul-Rauf's own words, the newspapers reporting the story only posted a small blurb in print, but the next day, media requests for Nuggets practice tripled. On March 12, 1996, Commissioner David Stern passed down a 1-game suspension to Abul-Rauf for his refusal to stand. 2 days later, the NBA compromised, forcing Abul-Rauf to stand during the playing of the national anthem, but allowing him to close his eyes and look downward. Abul-Rauf decided to say a Muslim prayer quietly to himself instead, but the damage had already been done. Ultimately, Abul-Rauf decided that standing during the national anthem and saluting the American flag wasn't a part of his Islamic belief system. Abul-Rauf's willingness to stay strong for what he believed in ultimately helped lead to an early exodus from the NBA and played a role in our faded memory of his game. But we don't give him credit for standing for other things, like fasting during the NBA season in observance of Ramadan. Abul-Rauf was scorned for being selfish in doing so during the season. He dropped from his playing weight of 162 pounds to a minuscule 147 pounds. But Hakeem Olajuwon, who was also Muslim and fasted, escaped scrutiny. There was also the time when Abul-Rauf covered up logos on his shoes. Why? He was initially given a sneaker deal with Nike, but that deal wasn't renewed and he felt his religious stance explained why. So he began hiding the logos on his shoes to make a point. If this happened in the present day, he would be praised for his stance. But in the mid-90s, few fans had any sympathy. We also forget that Abul-Rauf made sure to tour the inner cities of every stop on each Denver Nuggets road trip, going from hood to hood to speak to men who had issues with fatherhood, incarceration, and drugs. Abul-Rauf was motivated by his growing appreciation of Malcolm X, one that began when his college coach Dale Brown gave him the book. He saw his public speaking work as his pilgrimage to Mecca. We all know NBA Cares would have loved this. In this sense, Abul-Rauf was the spitting image of a revolutionary American. He took advantage of freedoms of the First Amendment. He challenged America's economic belief system. He focused on the issues, drugs, education, and others, that many of our bureaucratic leaders were scared to address. This country lauded other men who lived this kind of life. Instead, America largely spat at Abul-Rauf. Abul-Rauf's protests against the anthem caused his presence to fade even more. Denver traded a 27-year-old Abul-Rauf to the Kings that summer for an aging Sarunas Marciulionis, who retired at the end of the season. In Sacramento, Abul-Rauf went from the starter in his first year to did not play, coach's decision, and injuries in the second. Then, he was out of the league. A brief stint with the Vancouver Grizzlies in the 2000-2001 season ended quickly, and his career was officially over. The few who remember Abul-Rauf's career compare him to a present-day star like Stephen Curry or Kyrie Irving. His quick release, shooting ability, and handles were all top of the line. While Curry and Irving have become the focal points of their respective teams' offenses, Abul-Rauf was always placed in a smaller role with Denver, where players like Mutombo and Antonio McDyess were given first dibs. It's unfortunate. When given a chance, he'd always proven himself capable of lighting up anyone who stood before him, like Michael Jordan's 72-win Bulls, who caught Abul-Rauf at the wrong time, or legend John Stockton, who caught a 51-piece from the point guard from Gulfport. The rest remember Abul-Rauf for one stand in the dog days of the 1996 regular season. Had that not happened, who knows how long he would have stayed in the league. Long enough to shoot 39 more free throws, that's for sure. If Abul-Rauf had that record, maybe that would give him the prestige that only enhances Nash's and Price's legacies. We'll never know how good he could have been. Thankfully, we have videos like the ones you've been seeing to represent his greatness. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Once again, this is what could have been. I hope you guys take a good look. If you get a chance, go to YouTube. There's plenty of videos and highlights on him. So now when Phil Jackson brings up the fact that he said that he's seen a Steph Curry before in the league, and he said that person was Muhammad Abdul-Rauf. Now, when he said that, I think he's just talking about the skill of shooting the ball. You got to take into account that Abul-Rauf only shot 5 3-pointers a game throughout his career. Steph Curry is at 8.8. That's basically 9. You add that up over a course of 10 years, Steph Curry has shot thousands, at least thousands more 3-pointers. So, I mean, if you could shoot the ball at will like that, there's been times Steph Curry shot up 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 3-pointers. You know, Abul-Rauf has never done that. I would have liked to have seen what he would have done if he got to shoot basically 9 3-pointers a game versus 5. How many more of those threes would have went in during the course of his career? Especially with the wide open offense, you got to think about it. They was hand checking. It was like so physical back then. I just think if he would have played in today's game, he would have been one of those players. He would have been Damian Lillard, or he would have been Steph Curry. That would have been him. That's just my opinion. So if you guys have any opinions, please leave them in the comments down below. Once again, this is KJ. This is Sports Fans Only. Check out the new series, What Could Have Been. Next week, we're going to highlight Macho Man Randy Savage. If you don't know where I'm headed with this one, no, it's not wrestling. He played another sport, if you didn't know. If you did know, get ready for a great show next week. So we're going to do Macho Man Randy Savage next week. And no, it's not wrestling. So anyway, this is KJ, Sports Fans Only. What Could Have Been. You guys take care. See you next week. Peace.